Welcome back to my channel. If you haven't subscribed, please do so and also share and comment. Title: Sickle Blood, Silent Tears, The Legacy of Zuzu and Bina. In the busy city of Kampala, Uganda, there lived a kind man named Moses Kintu. Moses was tall, strong, and always smiled at everyone he met. He worked as a sales agent, helping people buy things they needed for their homes and businesses. One sunny day, Moses met a beautiful woman named Farida. She was a nursery school teacher who loved to sing songs at her students. Farida had a soft voice, gentle hands, and eyes full of dreams. When Moses saw her, his heart danced. Farida felt the same. Soon they became best friends, and not long after they got married. They were very happy and laughed all the time. They built a small house made of bricks and had a garden where they planted tomatoes and corn. Everyone in the village called them the happiest couple in Kampala. In the early days of their marriage, Moses and Farida often sat under the stars, dreaming about their future. They had big hopes to travel to Mbarara, start a business together, and raise a family full of joy and love. They shared roasted maize under the moonlight and told each other stories about their childhoods. Farida would hum lullabies while Moses made silly rhymes that made her laugh. But there was one thing they didn't know. Moses had something in his blood called the AS genotype. Farida also had the AS genotype. They did not know that when two people with AS genotype have children, there's a chance their children would be born with SS genotype, something called Sickle Cell Disease. Moses and Farida were so excited when their first baby girl was born. They named her Zuri, but everyone called her Zuzu. She had chubby cheeks and big, curious eyes. She laughed a lot and loved playing with the butterflies. Then came the twins, Seba and Luta. They were full of energy and liked to run around the house. Seba liked football, while Luta liked drawing animals and coloring them with bright crayons. Though they were twins, they were very different. Seba was loud and funny, always making jokes. Luta was quiet and thoughtful, often sitting under a tree, sketching birds. They played tag in the dusty paths behind their home. Sometimes they'd chase chickens. Other times they'd build forts out of banana leaves. Their laughter could be heard all across the village. Last came Bina, the youngest girl. She was tiny but had a loud giggle. She loved to sit on her mother's lap and clap her hands to songs. She followed Zuzu everywhere and tried to do everything her big sister did. The siblings were very close. Zuzu often read picture books to Bina and braided her hair. Seba and Luta made up secret handshakes and even built a treehouse behind their home. Zuzu called them the Fantastic Four. The house was always full of singing, laughter, and dancing. Farida played the radio and the children danced barefoot in the living room. Moses brought home sweets from the market. They had bonfire nights, told stories, and dreamed about the future. When Zuzu turned 5, she began to feel very tired. She did not want to play anymore. Her legs would hurt, and sometimes she had a fever that would not go away. One day, she fainted while playing hide and seek. Moses rushed her to the hospital. The doctor did some tests and said, Zuzu has Sickle Cell Disease. What is that? Moses asked. It means her blood is shaped like a sickle, like a half moon, the doctor explained. Her blood moves slowly, and that causes her pain. Moses and Farida were confused. They have never heard about it before. The doctor said, "You both have AS genotype. That means your child has a chance of getting SS." Tears filled Farida's eyes. She held Zuzu's little hand and whispered, "I am so sorry, my sweet girl." Zuzu began having frequent pain increases. Her arms and legs would hurt like they were being squeezed. Sometimes her back ached so badly she couldn't move. She missed birthday parties. She couldn't run in the school races. One day, during a school play, Zuzu had to sit out. Her friends performed as she watched from a chair. Her teacher tried to make her feel included, but Zuzu quietly cried, hiding behind her notebook. After Zuzu's diagnosis, life changed. She missed many days of school because she was often in the hospital. She had to drink a lot of water, stay warm, and rest often. At night, Farida would rub her legs and hum lullabies. At school, some children stayed away. One boy called her weak bones. Zuzu didn't understand why others treated her so differently. She felt alone, so she began to write poems. Her notebook became her best friend. One poem read, "Some days I shine, some days I fall, some nights I cry behind the wall, but deep inside a light still glows. I'm more than pain, the world just knows." Her poetry grew deeper. She wrote about butterflies, the stars, and dreamed of flying above the clouds. Meanwhile, Bina, her baby sister, also began falling sick. She had trouble breathing and pain in her chest. At first, everyone thought it was a cold, but the doctors confirmed it. She had Sickle Cell Disease too. Now there were 2 children needing special care. The hospital began their second home. The nurses smiled warmly whenever Zuzu and Bina walked in. There was a nurse named Auntie Eva who brought them mango juice and told them funny stories. Zuzu met another child in the hospital named Juma. He was older and had been living with sickle cell for years. He told Zuzu stories and even gave him one of his favorite books. When Juma passed away during Christmas, Zuzu cried all night. She wrote a poem for him. "Juma, your smile was made of stars. You flew away beyond the bars. I'll meet you where the angels sing on feathered clouds with silver wings." One cold night, Zuzu had a very bad pain crisis. She cried and cried. Moses and Farida rushed her to Mulago Hospital. The doctors tried everything. Auntie Eva stayed beside her. Farida held her daughter's hand and sang softly, "Sleep, my angel, rest your head. The stars are watching from your bed." Zuzu smiled weakly and whispered, "Mommy, don't cry. I'm flying to the moon." Then she closed her eyes and was gone. The family cried for many days. The village cried too. Even the headmaster at her school closed classes for the day. Everyone had loved Zuzu. They had planted a small tree in their garden, a papaya tree. They called it Zuzu's tree. Not long after, Bina became very sick. Her body grew weaker. She couldn't eat, couldn't smell. Moses held her in his arms and told her stories about the moon and stars. Bina passed away with both parents by her side. She was only 5. Seba and Luta were heartbroken, but they remembered everything their sister had taught them. They kept Zuzu's poems in a special book and read them out loud. Moses and Farida turned their pain into purpose. They started the Zuzu Bina Foundation. They gave free medicine to families. They helped pay for hospital transport. They spoke on radio stations and visited schools. They met other parents like Zainab, who had 3 children with sickle cell and couldn't afford treatment. The foundation paid for her daughter Tina's medicine for 1 year. Tina is now healthy and in back school. She wrote a letter to Farida that read, "Thank you for saving my life. I want to be a nurse when I grow up." Every year, on Zuzu and Bina's birthday, the family held a walk of light through Kampala. People wore red shirts and held candles. They sang songs and read poems. One year, a girl came up to Farida and said, "I'm alive today because I heard your story." Saba and Lutak became youth ambassadors. Saba coached a sickle cell awareness football club. Luta painted a mural of Zuzu and Bina with wings on a hospital wall. He added the words, "Their pain taught us to love better." One of Zuzu's final poems became their anthem. "Beneath the crimson moon, I fly. I'm no longer sick. I touch the sky. Remember me with love, not pain. I'll dance forever in the rain." Moral of the story. Know your genotype. Before getting married, always check your blood genotype. Two people with AS genotype should not marry because their children could be born with SS, which means they may suffer from sickle cell disease. Sickle cell is not a curse. Children with sickle cell are not cursed. They are brave warriors who need love, care, and support. Every child matters. Even if a child is sick, they still have dreams, talents, and so much to give the world. Spread awareness. Share what you learn with others. You can save lives just by talking about it. Love is stronger than pain. Even sadness, love can bring light. Families can turn pain into purpose, turn grief into action. Even when we lose someone, their memory can light up the world if we carry their story forward. Let us remember Zuzu and Bina being kind by learning more and helping others. Together we can light up the world beneath the crimson moon. The end. I hope you enjoyed my story. Make sure not to marry if you have AS genotype, make sure not to marry anyone with AS genotype.